has a map of these watersheds? Like, is there a map?
If you go on probably DNR or ISU, either
Okay.
of them would tell you.
Okay, because that would be handy to know.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
I can just envision where that bridge is.
Yeah.
If you go on Beacon, you can probably go by elevation, and if you click on the tab.
But I'd like to know the names of these watersheds.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, they're formulating one in a 28E agreement here, so.
And he didn't bother to ask anybody?
Well,
Or what are we doing?
We don't know for sure.
because of that clause that you're not required to participate, but you're asked if, you're allowed to. That's why they put your name in there, I think.
Wait, can you forward the information to Chris and I?
Yep. I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah. Because I don't want him to be doing something.
Because this
sneaky
meeting,
and he's gonna retire.
this next meeting is. This next meeting is the end of the month or the first of next month, somewhere in there. That's when they're looking at doing it. So.
Hey.
Right.
Morning. I almost got run over in the parking lot today.
What, some old Buick come roaring through? He was mad because somebody parked in his parking spot with a great big yellow truck. I was parked way down there in the corner.
Okay, so I'll look at that when it comes.
Well, I never park in that
Yes.
parking lot, but I did today because I wanted to see the truck.
Oh, yeah.
So I took a spot.
Well, then they had, what do they got, they had cones
Or
and
something
the ones up
else.
in the corner there.
Electricians.
What was that?
Or the guys doing the video, I think.
No, it's probably the
Biddy.
workers.
What?
Huh?
Well, there's probably several workers parking out there.
Yes.
Several contractors.
Well, it looks like Iowa DNR has those watersheds
So,
on it.
the whole thing's being organized by the Rural Center for Affairs, Rural Affairs, Center for Rural Affairs.
Okay.
This Cynthia Farmer. Get it forwarded quick before we start. Okay.
So what they're trying to accomplish by these watersheds is that they'll use the monies to do cleanup.
Define monies.
The
3/8
the
cent.
3/8 cent
Okay, just want to make sure.
to do cleanup at some point, right? I mean,
I don't know. what
Projects.
they plan to do.
See, that money also goes towards recreational. So their project out here in Forest City, they want to take the dam out and do some whitewater rafting.
Oh,
Some
so
of that
they'll
money
use-
might come from that. I don't know. They also have water projects at DNR that get funded otherwise.
Well, they're gonna compete with the raging Buffalo Creek with the whitewater rafting.
Have you ever watched the one in Charles City? People on that one in Charles City? It's really cool.
Throw me a pen.
Sure.
Okay, so I've got it out now.
Somebody stole mine.
It might have been me.
Out of the way.
No, I didn't. It was right here, but I know you do. Got your name on it.
Okay, so we're running a little bit late, but we ready to start? Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
John Danos
Has joined.
One nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Okay, 9 a.m. or thereafter, John Danos, Dorsey, and Whitney discussed the tax increment financing.
Do you want to approve the minutes of the agenda first?
Okay,
I'll move.
I'll second.
all right, so I got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the minutes and agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, back to number 2. John Danos, are you on the phone?
Good morning. This is John Danos with Dorsey and Whitney in Des Moines.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Is the audio connection okay?
It is just fine.
Excellent.
So we've been looking at the possibility of utilizing more of our TIF funds going forward for the next few years because it ends in 2028. And we were looking at possible modifications to our urban renewal to include some maybe bridge projects or anything else. And we're looking at, I guess one of my questions is going to be, when we have an end date in 2028, how does that end date actually work for utilizing the money? When do we have to have the money borrowed to pay back and things like that?
Gotcha. Well, do you want me to start off by addressing that specific question, or?
Sure, start with that.
Okay. So, let's assume, just so that we're on the same page, that when you say 2028, that we all mean fiscal year 2028, right? Which is to say that the tax cycle that begins July 1 of 27 and ends June 30 of 2028. Now, I would want us to verify that, but for our purposes, let's assume that that is the case. So the way I would want you to think about that would be that your fiscal year 28 in that scenario would be the final year in which you would receive TIF revenues or divide the incremental valuation in your TIF district to produce TIF revenue. So to be meaningful and useful in helping to pay off any type of debt, you would want to get that debt issued fairly soon, because as amazing as it is, right, you all are budgeting right now for fiscal year 25, and we're going to be in the midst of that before we know it. So in my scenario, the soonest you could claim any TIF for a new debt obligation at this point is going to be fiscal year 26, because budget year 25 is that ship has sailed for TIF claims. So you'd be down to 3 fiscal years in my scenario.
When you say claim, as in
Certified to the county,
okay,
to your county auditor. So TIF debt always goes on this pattern that I will describe for you. Number one, you've got to identify a project you want to undertake. You mentioned a bridge. So project identification is step one. You then amend or update your urban renewal plan through the statutory process. It takes about 4 weeks. We will walk you through it. You need to amend the plan to identify and approve that project, in this case, the bridge, and to pave the way for you to then go about doing some debt to pay for the bridge. So that's step 2, right? Step 1, identify the project. Step 2, update or amend the urban renewal plan to authorize the project and pave the way for debt. Step 3, you have to go into debt to pay for the project. Let's pretend it's a modestly priced $1 million bridge project, and you go and you do a GO bond, a general obligation bond, to pay for the bridge, right? That's step 3, entering into a debt obligation. Step 4, you have to certify that debt to your county auditor by December 1, ahead of the fiscal year in which you expect to start receiving the TIF. So if you've got your eyes on fiscal year 26, you need to have the debt in place and this certification claim done by December 1 this coming fall. Okay, so December 1 of 24 puts you in line to start receiving TIF then in fiscal year 26. And then, of course, the final thing is you get into fiscal year 26, you start receiving the TIF and you start paying off your debt. So, again, in my scenario, if fiscal year 28 is the final fiscal year of TIF collections in your district that you're looking at, your TIF district, then you really are down to 3 fiscal years of TIF collections. Fiscal year 26, 27, and 28. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then.
There's a lot of technical stuff in there.
So this certification by December of 2024, does that mean we would have a bond in place already that we have borrowed? Or does that mean?
Correct.
Okay. So one of the
No,
things,
you need to have gone into the debt obligation.
okay,
And that could be a bond issue. It could be a bank loan. It could even be an internal loan. If you had enough cash on hand to cover your project needs, you could do it that way. But one way or another, you have to have approved and transacted the debt before December 1 when you certify the claim.
okay. Now, as I understand it from one of the other times I've listened to this information, if we had an internal loan, because we're taking some of the monies we invest out, it's allowable to charge ourselves interest. And
Yeah. I mean, we absolutely have had clients determine to build in an interest factor on internal loans. That's okay. And recover that from TIF.
right. Okay, so what are the restrictions in our amendments? What are not allowable? Like a building for secondary roads, it doesn't have an economic impact factor, right? Or does it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we start with this premise. Any project that you folks at the supervisors table are able to make a finding with that it will have a positive economic development impact. Anything that fits that bill, I think, is fair game. We don't get a lot of guidance under the law about, black and white, this type of project is never economic development significant, or this type of project is always economic development significant. We just don't get that kind of guidance. Instead, the law really leaves it to you supervisors to make some investigation and to make rational findings about what will or won't contribute to economic development in your urban renewal area. Certainly, the more we can point to job growth, job retention, wealth growth types of elements with a project, the stronger the relationship is to economic development. But there's a lot of secondary benefit types of projects that cities and counties have chosen to support. Maybe it's not creating jobs, but maybe the local employers are clamoring for it as a job amenity for employees, or take your road, your your secondary roads building, as an example, if you were in a circumstance where you're needing to build that facility because you've got a new agribusiness park that's going in and there's going to be a whole lot more road maintenance out in that area, and you need the new maintenance shop to be able to keep up with that growth, that might be a very clear economic development finding for somebody in your position. You take another secondary road shop that is just getting the roof replaced and there's really no relationship to any type of growth factor or whatnot, and the only reason you can see is that it would be convenient to use TIF to help pay for it from a budget perspective, maybe that's a more challenging economic development finding. I go through this exercise quite a lot with city clients on things like fire stations. You know, a very similar type of analysis. So the one thing I will say that we do get a fairly black and white picture on is if you're going to be trying to promote housing related projects with the TIF, we are really quite limited to spending the money on public infrastructure type improvements, sewer, water, stormwater drainage assets, streets and sidewalks. If it's going to be a market rate housing development project, we do have some clear guidance in that arena.
Follow up a little bit on, is there any changes from House File 718 that limit what we can do more than it used to?
On the TIF front?
Yeah,
No.
okay. But I guess when I went to a meeting from ISAC last year, they indicated the benefits of utilizing more of your TIF towards those formulas. So I just wanted to make sure there's no more restrictions.
No, there were no additional restrictions placed on TIF out of House File 718.
All right.
There's certainly, as I understand it, anecdotally, that there may be some considerations to make with respect to how much TIF you're claiming and what that does or doesn't do with respect to your overall levy rates and valuation that you're capping with growth or whatnot. I am going to tell you right now, let's get a financial advisor on board, somebody who deals with those numbers every day, and have them help us. Because I would do you a disservice if I tried to wade in on that as a lawyer.
Sure. Okay. I guess, you guys have any questions beyond that, or you have any, Susan?
No, but it was helpful to go through those 4 steps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty confusing to know when you have to have things done, and this, it's
Absolutely.
a lot of master planning and forethought.
Yeah, and I that's why I don't know. About 8 years ago, I decided I'm just going to boil this thing down to what amounts to five basic steps for you folks in the elected official position to kind of keep your eyes on in the modern era of this TIF tool, and that if you stick with those, it'll serve you well. It's a very project by project type of tool at this point. So start by identifying your project, then we can help you amend your plan, then you go into debt, then you certify the debt, that's a December 1 deadline, and then you start receiving the TIF and repay your debt.
Right. Okay.
So when you said part of the way that we can certify the debt, we can use an internal loan, and who sets the interest on that then?
I think we have to justify the
You-
interest, don't we?
You do.
Yeah, because
The Board of Supervisors.
we look
sets
at
it.
right now, what we're getting out of CDs, we could justify a comparable on what the banks are giving us, couldn't we?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problem going with, kind of a standard investment rate that you're getting right now, or if you want to use an equivalency of what you might
Borrow.
expect to be charged interest given the current market conditions. If you were borrowing externally, you can go that route.
These are
Um,
probably.
my old law school tax professor, Jim Monroe, always used to say, never forget, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. It's okay to ask for a reasonable rate of interest and get yours out of it. Just don't go too hog wild with it.
Right.
Would be my advice. So
And if we have to do a number of these projects, it maybe we can't do all of it internal. We might have to do some of it locally, or
Bank loans or?
which we.
yeah, I mean,
rather go
one
that
thing I
route.
will caution you on the bank loan front is I'd start shopping early and make sure you've got a lender, because what we're finding is that the average United States bank out there, and Iowa's no different, the banks are being very, very reticent to extend loans right now. Most of our clients are doing better out in the bond market, and the credit's flowing more freely out in the market than it is with local banks, which is really quite different than 12 months ago. So,
But
and again, that's just anecdotal. I'm not a market
yeah,
expert, but if you're looking at borrowing $500,000, probably it's not going to make a huge difference for you one way or another. If you're in the millions of dollar range with what you're looking at for your projects, I would really urge you to get a municipal financial professional on board, helping to kick the tires on a plan of finance, so we can set you up for the most, cost and dollar efficient type of borrowing you can do.
so one of the other questions I did have, I guess, would be, I'm guessing it'd be probably, more fiscally responsible to put all these projects together and borrow one note rather than doing a project each year and paying it back the next year?
I think it depends, probably. And again, that's where you might really benefit from bringing in a financial consultant to help look at this with you. If your top priority is we want to chip away at one project a year, we'll set the budget at roughly what we expect to bring in from the TIF each year, then kind of the pay-as-you-go internal loan option might really serve you well. We've got a client out west of you that has a pretty healthy TIF revenue stream from a casino development, and that's exactly what they've done. They've never really gone out and done a big bond issue to capitalize on that. They've done more of a work with the county engineer, size up a whatever it is, $600,000 a year project, and they just do a series of internal loans, repaying last year's loan with this year's TIF collections, while they're identifying the next wave of improvements and approving another internal loan. And they cycle it. That's one approach. The other approach, of course, which you all have done previously, is to take on a larger slate of projects, get the borrowing done. It certainly is more time efficient that way, because you just go borrow the bucket of money and spend it down on your projects as quick as you can get to them, and you're not having to deal with remembering to approve a new internal loan every year and all that. But there's pluses and minuses either way.
So my fear is that we end up like a small town in an adjacent county that had debt revenue, or TIF revenues estimated at a certain amount, and then the legislature changed some things, the Department of Revenues started changing some things, and they ended up about half as much money off their TIF project as they thought they had.
Yeah, and that is always a reality that you have to look at if you're going to go out and do a larger general obligation bond issue to fund projects. You'll probably get the best interest rate you could possibly get. But you all as supervisors need to understand that is general obligation debt of the county. And no matter how much you hope the TIF will be there, if it's not there, the GO nature of that means you will be legally required to raise everybody's property taxes to get that debt paid back, right? And circumstances can change with TIF revenues. They're not guaranteed. So,
Yeah.
Do I sound like a depressing lawyer? Probably.
Everything's
But-
depressing these days.
I hear you.
Carla, did you have any questions for him?
Not right now.
Okay. All right. Well, unless anybody else has any questions, that's probably all we needed to hear from you, and I appreciate your time on this.
My pleasure.
All right.
Keep me posted. Let me know how we can be helpful, please.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Good luck with your day.
Yeah.
Bye now.
So, possible action. I don't see any possible action other than we got
John Danos.
we got to do a lot
Has
of
left.
research on what projects, cost estimates, things like that we can make qualify if we so choose. I mean, it's not a slam dunk we're going to do this, but we know the timeline we have to do it by. We have to have debt by December
Yeah.
or
I'm
by
having,
November.
I put a spreadsheet together. I'm having Chris just go over it one more time, and then she's gonna bring it in when she's,
We got to know what's available.
yep, that's what we're
That's
working
the
on.
big thing. And it's confusing for me, if you don't borrow enough one year, you have less the next year, and I don't know how, I'm thinking that's where the financial consultants are gonna probably be able to help us more.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we want to, if at this point, would it be best to engage with a financial consultant to start looking at
I
what's
would really like to work with Maggie from Spear Financial.
we've worked with her before then, or?
I've used her knowledge several times. She's never charged me for her expertise, which has been very nice.
What are her credentials? Where does she,
Spear Financial.
Spear Financial,
I don't know where that is.
They're one of the two main financial
Oh.
companies in the state that we've worked with the other one in the past.
Okay.
So what are you?
It was
you guys'
helpful
thoughts?
to hear what the restrictions were, too. Sounds like it can be kind of gray.
I was surprised to find out that we had as much leeway as we do with making decisions on what is,
So it's always been indicated it's a gray area, but
you know,
as long as you can justify it, I think is the biggest thing. And
Mhm.
I think it depends on who your lawyer is and how much gray area you have.
yeah,
I think when you talk to Ehlers and Coney, I think you have less leeway than what Dorsey and Whitney says that you have. So I think it depends on your attorney.
Yeah, sure.
Ehlers and Cooney do this type of, do they?
I just can't understand how people can look at the same information and come up with opposite opinions.
That's why they're lawyers. That's why you need a lawyer.
Yeah,
The
why
opposing
are
views.
two groups of lawyers coming up with opposite opinions on something?
Yep.
Experience.
To me,
Years
when
of
you read
experience.
something, it's like when people interpret the Constitution, certain things in it. When I read it, I'm like, well, I don't know how they could have that idea from what it says right here. But,
Why there's lawyers, Bill.
well, yeah, and it tells me that Some of the lawyers must read much differently than I do.
Well, do we want to, I guess,
Well, we have some projects in mind,
yeah,
so we should be able to run those past either another lawyer or a financial consultant.
I think the next step is probably a financial consultant to understand exactly what monies we have available.
Mhm.
It wouldn't be an exact science because we still have all these restrictions of the legislature changing things all the time and cutting our hands off. So we have to be cautious moving forward too,
So
and I
what
think
is
they
the-
understand that.
If you said the House File 718 didn't really change anything,
That part of it.
what other House File is, is there one that we're particularly concerned
Nothing ever
about?
passed last year. I just wanted to make sure
Nothing to-
that he would tell me that it didn't affect us.
Okay.
The
So
only
it's
thing
not
that
something
affects us,
else
House File 718, they said, when we went through the training, that if you put more of your TIF into debt and utilize it to that extent, then that takes valuation away from your formula. It changes your formula to benefit you. So that's what I took away from it. Because somebody asked that exact question last fall, and that's how they answered it, so.
So in other words, the big concern is if there's a difference in legislation that basically reduces the TIF amount that's available.
Well, in the future, nothing yet.
Okay.
I mean, what happened to that other town when they paved all their streets and they came back and found out that, I don't know if it was the Department of Revenue or if it was the legislature, they redefined the rollback on, or the depreciation schedule on fertilizer buildings. And all the value, the fertilizer building valuation dropped in half. And they lost their borrowing ability after they'd already borrowed. Now they have to come up with some money to pay that GO bond back. So, unfortunate situation, but we probably need to be more cautious on things like that. Is what we're borrowing against going to change? I hope not in 4 years, because that's the end of it in 3 years' time. I think we're pretty safe that way, but you never know. They've been doing some pretty strong things lately, and
Well, I can't believe our legislature was surprised us with anything.
that they know of, Bill. All right. So action-wise, do we want to move forward to engage with a financial consultant?
I'll make the motion to engage with a financial consultant for TIF projects.
Do you want to name the one she mentioned?
Maggie.
Spear Financial?
Yeah, no, Spear Financial, sure.
I'll second that.
I have a motion from Jensvold and a second from Smith to move forward with engaging with a financial consultant from Spear Financial. Any further discussion for the purpose of the TIF projects? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. All right, Scott Minders, or is Scott around?
Nope.
Okay,
He's on, you can call him, he's driving it.
all right.
If you need him.
So his designee, Ethan Shutter, to discuss secondary road matters.
It's been pretty quiet. We plowed snow last Thursday, just, by a little bit. It was all cleaned up by noon. Other than that, we've had a couple of guys working on sign reflectivity. We rent a reflectometer from the Service Bureau. It's basically like a big impact, but it shoots a laser onto the sign, tells you if it's good or bad. They've been working on that in like Buffalo, King, Newton, Grant, Linden, and Forest townships. It's a little over 2,300 signs. It's coming back pretty good. I think there's like 60 signs or something like that need to be replaced out of it. Not too bad out of 2,300. Guys are still stockpiling rock now back at the Thompson Curve. All on rock well before the prices go up April 1st. So. Not that we plan on using it, but rock doesn't go bad sitting on the ground either. So.
Do we have any roads that we're able to maintain or need to maintain when it's like this, or
They're sitting
spots?
pretty tight right now. The washboards are pretty minimal. It'll be interesting over the next couple weeks here to see if those potholes get bigger. We might have to do some spot blading, but
I'm curious to see if there's much frost in there, you know.
yeah, I think there is still. I mean, they're still staying damp throughout the day in spots, so I think that frost is still coming out, but they've been very dry, so I don't think there's.
Because I've heard a few other counties that have actually been maintaining their roads because they've gotten in pretty bad shape. I
Yeah,
don't know if we had some damage yet or not.
haven't seen anything personally. Been keeping an eye on some of those high traffic roads anyway, just to see. But they're sitting really tight right now, so if we do get snow, I'd rather keep them tight while we can before we get wet, heavy snow and roll more rock off into the ditch than we need to. So
All right.
I think if the weather keeps holding, maybe over the next couple of weeks we'll be thinking differently.
You guys have anything for him?
No, you gonna be in the office for a while after this, or?
Yeah.
Might stop down.
Okay.
So you'll relay to Scott that we're moving forward to look at projects.
Yep. I think he's listening to the meeting on his
Okay.
way.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The ground must be getting warm because my tulips are coming up.
Isn't it crazy?
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably almost too early. Might do some damage.
Yeah.
Have you heard what they've, hasn't Pella Tulip Festival already know that they're not having it? Because it's gonna be so early, or?
Like the tulips are gonna be gone by the time. Yeah.
Hey, we're ready for you.
I haven't, looked at my tulips, see whether it's coming
Oh,
up yet.
yeah, they're like that.
Well, mine are just like this high, but I was like, oh, they're gonna be ruined.
Well, it's gonna be 62 degrees on Monday, so.
There are a lot of, I've been noticing a lot of ducks and geese flying north, so usually Mother Nature has a pretty good compass on this stuff.
Robins have been spotted.
You can see them flocking. There's a lot that I was talking to one of our local naturalists. And there's a lot of unusual flocking going on right now. Even grackles are returning, and so are the wrens. And this is way too early for the wrens. The robins maybe, but the wrens definitely.
Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters.
I met with Colin the other day. He's working on the classification for DD 37, so hopefully that's coming. DD 2's reclassification is coming along also. So they should both be done by the end of June to be able to levy for those reclass amounts.
Okay.
For the next year. So DD 2 has been a lot. There were a lot of things that happened in the past that they wanted to do this, but then they didn't, but we have some things on our map that really didn't happen, and so it's been kind of a lot of work for him, but it's coming along. So he said he's getting there. There's hundreds of parcels that needed to be added. So it's a good thing we're doing it.
That's our job.
Right. So it's a good thing that it's getting done. So it's been over 100 years. And
Probably should have been done earlier, but.
maybe, yep.
You ever read the Winnebago Historical Facebook page?
I do.
They
He
talk
had
about when they
DD3.
were,
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really cool.
Who was the gentleman that gave him that? He passed away not too long ago. He came in one time. Was it a brew, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. And he came in because he wanted the history of it to share with his family. And so his family gave that to the Historical Society. So that was kind of nice that they did that and put that on there. Yeah.
What's his name? It's Dave Brew's dad. He's lived between Thompson and Buffalo.
Super nice. I don't remember his first name.
Oh, it's terrible, I can't say it now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's how that got to be there. So that's fun to see. Yeah. Riley said he was going to do that.
Cool. It's fun to watch those. Anything else? You guys have anything for her?
Just this one that she put in our box.
All right. Consider for approval DD 89 annexation and reclassification reports.
So when we met the other day with Harlan and Tim Missile, Harlan Nyhus and Tim Missile, went through the annexation report. There's just minimal acres to be added, so that's kind of nice, 22.5 acres. And that is basically from the map that I sent you. You know, it's those outlining areas where they used to just do fence line and whatever, so now we've got the actual watershed. So that's kind of nice to get that cleaned up. Going through the report, the guys had some issues with the reduction amount on the state-owned land or the county-owned land because there are farmland on the other side of those lands. So they still have to get through those state-owned, county-owned lands to get there. So they came up with 20% reduction for the state-owned, county-owned lands. Sometimes it's been higher of a reduction, but they felt this time because there was outlying farmland that needs to go through.
I
That's
think
what
if
they
it was
felt
the
was
last, if it's at the top of the district. it'd
That's
be
so
one-
different.
Yeah.
That's different, right. And so we still have to maintain those tile lines going through there. And if the DNR doesn't maintain like trees or whatever, you know, we've got to make sure that we stay on them to do that. Everything else looks good. The way he's labeling it looks good. It works for the system when I put it in. He did do lat 1, 2, 3, and 4 included with the main tile. There's like 10 acres. Why they made a lateral, who knows? So it's not worth his time, the district time to pay for that, to have like one guy paying it anyway. So we, as a collective group, put that all into one. So anytime there's work done on those, or no, it's just 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Anytime there's work done, everybody will pay for those. The lat 4 is all in the secondary road right away. So it doesn't even really need a schedule. So if anybody had any questions, that's why that is. It's not cost effective to have him do the work to figure out like one guy or whatever. So probably has never been work done, probably never will be, so it probably won't be an issue. But otherwise, the way that he did it, it's just like any other reclass. His points, his soil types, his all the stuff. Harlan and Tim thought that was accurate. Everything they looked at looked good. So we're just requesting or asking if you would accept this report, and then we'll do a public hearing for the landowners.
Laverne,
You came up with it,
yeah, right after
Laverne.
she started talking,
Oh, Laverne.
Yeah.
Yep, that's him.
Good job, Ben.
because I graduated with his daughters.
That's in mine, isn't it?
Yes, that's yours.
I will make the motion to approve DD 89 annexation and reclassification reports.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the DD 89 annexation and reclassification reports. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All All those opposed? Motion carries. Then we need to set the public hearing for DD 89 annexation and reclassification reports.
And Colin is busy March. He's already got his schedules. So we can do any Tuesday in April. 2nd, 9th, 16th. I would go earlier.
April 2nd?
And I don't think there's anything on the agendas right now, so we could do like the 9:30. Give Colin time to get here. Would that be a good date too, as far as farming, like they're
Yeah.
maybe not in the field yet?
Well, yeah,
Still, most of them won't get in the field until
Mid.
they're covered by insurance.
April 11th or 10th or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Okay,
That's
so
when
the
fe-
second
federal
will,
crop.
Crop starts at that point, so.
okay, I just wanna make sure that we don't interfere.
Yeah, that'd be a good time.
And how about absentee landowners as far as snowbirds, things like that?
They should be coming back by then, I would hope.
Okay, well, they'll all get
Or they
letters,
can-
so,
They can call in.
yeah, okay.
So when you tell them they can call in, do you just have them go to our website?
I put it on the letter that I send out,
The phone number.
yeah.
All the information that's,
Yeah, I will make sure I do that, because I don't think I have, but I will.
I think it'd be good.
I'll make the motion to set the public hearing for DD 89 annexation and reclassification for April 2nd at 9:30.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to set the public hearing for DD 89 annexation and reclassification reports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I never set the date, April 2nd at 9:30. Motion carries. Open forum.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Did you second that, though?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, I did.
Open forum. Have you gotten all the change orders, Terry?
Yes. One sounded really good because it was a credit.
Yeah, did you want me to sign all those?
Yeah, I was fine with both of them.
Okay.
The only one that we don't know is, I think it was more of a choice of them on the block.
Yeah,
I don't know if I need to stop down there and talk to her or.
it's on the back.
So, under open forum, I guess I could bring up that I would like to put it on the agenda to discuss the Winnebago River watershed and our participation in the group.
Okay.
For next week, you mean?
Maybe I'll call our county conservation person, maybe have him be here too, because his name was on the list. They've had previous meetings, but
Did you print that out? What
I did.
that you could share with me at some point? Make a copy? I have things to learn about watersheds.
Make sure they got the right stuff, okay. There's other counties that have already. So this one's Cerro Gordo County Soil and Water Conservation District. So there's conservation districts that are signing on. Worth County's already signed on. Hancock County Soil District. The Winnebago County Custodial District is signed on. City of Clear Lake. And Hamilton. Leland. Has signed up. Mason City has signed up. Does this one copy both sides?
I think so.
You have to set it up according to that.
Um, not sure why this was up there, but you can stamp it and then I'll make sure that you don't have it already or not.
Sure. Work on county claims.
When did you get this information that you're copying?
This is, let's see, last week or two. And there might have been another one before that, but I just assumed that we didn't have interest in it for the previous ones. I don't think it's too late if we want to be part of it, but it'd be good for Robert, if he's been participating, to just
Yeah, fill us in,
fill us in
for sure.
our responsibilities and requirements, physically, whatever else.
Will you ask him to attend next week, Carla? And speaking of that, with their kind of open houses coming up, that'll be nice. Did you see that on Fridays?
What is,
And yeah, I think the next 3 or 4 Fridays,
oh, okay.
they're
They
going
get
to
their
have the doors
painting
open
done.
and
They do their bureau.
No,
Are you,
no.
Joe? Are you okay up there? Has joined.
Yeah, we're fine. Thanks for asking.
I think
Sorry, I'm in an ambulance right now.
I know. That's okay. I'm gonna try to get this done before 10 o'clock. I'll make the motion to approve the county claims.
I have a question on the claims.
Oh, and we're done talking.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay.
Then we can discuss it. I got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the county claims. Discussion?
And maybe it's just me not remembering. We still do business with Golden Shovel. There was two of them for 2,500 through Windward Bedco.
Yeah.
I thought we did.
It's less. It's lower than it used to be.
Yeah, but I didn't think we did anything with them anymore.
I'm thinking
Or am I
for
thinking
this
of a different
fiscal year, I
organization?
think we do. Next year, we don't have to budget for that.
Okay, all right. I just, for some reason, I had in my head that we had.
That was probably during the budgeting process we talked about it would go off. Any further discussion on the claims?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. Copy this other one too.
I'm gonna take a couple minutes.
Oh, I thought they were doing some shuffle of the seats. I'm like, well, that's weird.
Carla,
Yes,
it went through, sounded like it, oh, you grabbed it.
I got it.
Okay, I
I
got
got
it.
it.
Morning. So you guys signed on to the Winnebago watershed yet?
Yep, I did my preliminary one in December, and then I had, before we actually approved the 28E, because that's on tonight's meeting, is the actual 28E. We knew we were gonna join, I just need to make sure the lawyer's happy with the way the 28E is written. Because they're doing it a little bit different than what I'm used to for a 28E. But, I don't know, I don't see what the reason is if you wouldn't want a voice.
Well, our always is the commitment of finances. That's always been our
Well, no, wouldn't
backbone.
you rather be in the talks so that you get a say in what the split of the money, what the costs are gonna be? I wanna be at the table, 'cause we don't need a bunch of commitment either.
We don't have money, so
You got more than I do.
let's not start.
You're loaded, Terry.
That's because money comes from other counties without asking. Okay, so-
Give me any. Thank you.
I have too many papers today.
That's the watershed stuff?
Well, no, that's the claims.
Oh,
I didn't want to mix the two up. Have you been to the meetings, Daisy?
We've only had the one initial one, yep. And then we got an invite to.
Was Robert there?
Huh?
Was Robert there?
I don't know if I'd know Robert if I was sitting next to him,
His
so.
name was on the list, so I just,
That he attended?
yeah. Well, I'll know that he was on the email.
Yes,
So
yep.
All right, it is 10 o'clock. We will have discussion and possible action regarding Worth County EMS money for Fort City Ambulance / Winnebago County Medic Program. So, another set of documents. Fine. Okay, this is the note that I got from Enos Lober. Maybe that's not the one. Watershed. Anyway, in the correspondence from Enos, he kept talking about they wanted to put this money towards, it's their ARP funds that they are using to put 80,000 towards what Bristol, Silver Township, Silver Lake Township, and the townships, whatever's that the Fort City EMS is covering over this way.
Danville and Fertile.
Danville and Fertile. In the email, he talked about ambulance. Have you gotten different information from him on that?
You mean, yeah, in the email he was talking ambulance. I called and explained it to him. He understands that it's for the paramedic program. That's what we've been asking for the last year and a half. I attended one of their preliminary tax levy meetings here about a week ago. Visited with township trustees on that. So basically, Worth County is doing a different tax than what we've done from the EMS districting tax, and they're trying to figure out the dollar amount. Our initial ask was $40,000 a year to match Hancock County to supplement the paramedic program for the expenses of fuel, backup medic wages, uniform expenses, continuing education, just basically operating expense. And that would in turn then get them the same auto launch paramedic that the Winnebago and Hancock County residents are getting. And so they're coming up with, that's where they came up with the $80,000 For us, that's a 2-year payment for 23.4 and 24.5. And they figure by 25, they should be getting taxes in on the district being levied.
All right. And then, that was 80,000 that went this direction. There was 80,000 that went to the Northwood and 80,000 that went to Mason City. And that was all out of the ARP funds. So the discussion being had was, should this go to the Fort City EMS or should it go to the Winnebago County EMS program? And they left it up to us to make this determination to cover EMS over in Worth County. So, Joe, in the past, you've given reports on when Fort City EMS is in Worth County, whether it be being a medic with the Lake Mills ambulance or with the Fort City ambulance, you're documenting backfill to the city of Fort City for some of the time on those calls. Is that correct?
The only time that we really pay attention to the backfill is if Fort City ambulance takes a medic on a out of city or out of county transfer. So, example, last night we went to Des Moines, so we'll document, we'll take the time that we had second medic on payroll for the transfer, and then Fort City pays that back at $35 an hour, which is above. Basically, I'm the highest paid paramedic. So what we did is we figured out my expense to the county for IPERS and what was the other tax? FICA tax?
Yeah.
Carla?
Yep.
And then my time at time and a half was $35 an hour. So when we take and backfill with a lower paid person or someone not on overtime, then it adds money back into the county budget.
So currently, when you go out of county utilizing a Winnebago County funded EMS medic, how has that been working? We've always had concerns that our funds were funding coverage in other counties.
So that's why we were looking at using the $40,000 a year from Worth County and the $80,000 a year, or the $40,000 a year from Hancock County, is to pay the backup paramedics that make $6 an hour to be on call. So, for example, today I'm the backup paramedic in the county. Ethan is the main paramedic. Ethan was out on a call, and now I'm down here in Mason City on a Crew 3 call, actually, that originated up in Lake Mills. So my wages were being paid, my $6 an hour on call time was being paid from Hancock and Worth County. And Winnebago County ended up with a paramedic on 3 911 calls. So it's kind of a give and take thing, because the only thing we can use your money for is wages.
Yeah.
And we also have to have fuel and a vehicle and equipment and uniforms. It'd be kind of awkward if we didn't have clothes.
So are you saying you would like to use this money towards the other needs of fuel and vehicle expenses, or what do you say?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Okay.
That was the plan, was that the $80,000 was going to go to fund the backup paramedic wages at $6 an hour, and then also fund the replacement and use of the response units and equipment, which is all being tracked through our accounting, because we've developed basically a paramedic budget with a 20 category, with a 20 category for all paramedic expenses. So I can tell you, the first of December, we Forest City Ambulance had paid over $17,000 in operating expenses, just for the paramedics alone, like just the paramedics.
In wages or other expenses?
Nope, that was just operating. That was running the fly car, uniform, continuing education.
Okay.
That was any operating expense. And what we do is if we do a communal expense, example, a new office computer, we split the expense 80% Forest City Ambulance, 20% Forest City Paramedics. So essentially it's two businesses going to run out of one checking account with budgets.
Is there a way to run it through Winnebago County budget for those purposes? No. I was asking.
I was just
Carla's going.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, it's just a lot of headache, I would say. Hang on just a second. I got to step in this patient room quick.
So.
The only thing we're allowed to pay, according to our external auditor, is the wages.
Right.
That's why this needs to go to the city ambulance service.
Okay.
What their concern in Worth County evidently is how is Lake Mills ambulance gonna benefit from any of this?
Well, the paramedics are.
Lake Mills ambulance benefits in the fact that we staff them 4 days a week, 12 hours a day, and they can have an ambulance during the day then.
Plus, our medic goes to those calls up in Bristol and.
So the Forest City ambulance is staffing Lake Mills?
Yes, the county paramedics auto respond to
So then there's.
all the Worth County townships.
Lake Mills doesn't have an ambulance, 90% of the time?
Well, from the calls I've heard, it's been better. Has it been better over there because of the staffing?
It has 100% improved because of the county program and the staffing. They don't have an ambulance, and that's where our crew 3 went. But yesterday we had a sick call, so I went to staff Lake Mills all day. You know, it's on a regular basis. We're doing a lot better in Lake Mills with the staffing. Carla and I got to sit down and look at the budget, see what because we do have a couple applicants for part-time people. So I got to sit down and look at the budget, see what we can do financially to maybe even improve staffing a little more in Lake Mills.
So I guess I look at this as
Are you okay up there?
Has left.
I look at this as I don't know that throwing money to Lake Mills is going to solve their problems, but if we can support them with the help that we're giving them now, it'll keep them going and do what they need to do in both counties.
Well, if they get to the point where they're staffing their own ambulance all the time, then how are they gonna?
Joe.
I mean, right now, Forest City ambulance is covering.
Has joined.
If it gets to the point where Forest City ambulance isn't covering for them, is there gonna be any benefit to the Lake Mills ambulance?
But I think we're a long ways away from that.
Well, it seems to be.
Yeah, I think that's a transition that the tech committee can deal with and the advisory council and that, but for right now, I think it's doing a world of good up there for what we're doing.
Yeah, and we have things in the works. We're trying to help them with recruitment. And I mean, it's just going to be a slow process. Nothing's going to happen overnight. But I would say we are miles ahead of where we were 9 months ago.
I think some more PR work up there and getting the word out there to the community and getting more involvement, I think, is going to go a long ways. There's been some changes
Oh, yeah,
there already.
100%.
I think that'll help.
Yep, it's improving. It's going to take some time. It's going to be 12 to 18 months before you see any major changes up in Lake Mills. Just, it takes that much time.
So, I guess, and all of this will be shown when you give us information that, you've showed us already what monies you got from Hancock County, and now this will show up if you get it from Worth County, and it'll show in how you manage those funds in coordination with our funds, right?
That's my plan. Is every advisory and technical committee meeting to show up with we just took over the bookkeeping. I shouldn't say we took over the bookkeeping. We now have access to the accounting software, which with a little education will make it easier for me to be able to figure out how to run the reports and stuff. So yeah, the plan is to have the paramedic full-time employee budget at all the technical advisory council meetings, keep everyone up to date where we are financially with the monies that we've gotten from the two counties for the operating side of the world.
You're almost starting to sound like a farmer. You have to be knowledgeable in every field to operate.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be an accountant ever, but here we are.
That's what software is for.
Yep, just that entry.
Any further discussion on this? I guess my question would be, is our action going to be in the form of a recommendation for Worth County?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I guess I would make a motion to recommend to Worth County the monies go towards the Forest City EMS for the purpose of medics in their county, medic coverage and EMT coverage in their county through both, services, since it's all working together. And that was my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, got a motion from Derby and a second from Chensvold to recommend to the Worth County Board of Supervisors to direct the money towards the Forest City EMS for covering their county for EMTs and medics. Any further discussion? And of course, we'll get more accountabilities from
That was the
Forest City
discussion I was going
EMS
to bring
going
up.
forward, which we've already been getting, but go ahead, Daisy.
From where I'm sitting, I think you need clarification on what Forest City EMS is. I don't know that there is
Should
an
probably
entity
state Forest
called.
City Ambulance.
Okay, Forest City Ambulance
Okay,
Service.
yeah,
There is
all
not
right.
an entity
In
called
Winnebago County.
Is that what their entity's called?
Forest City Ambulance Services, the name of their business.
Okay, all right.
Thank
I'll
you,
correct my motion to state Forest City Ambulance Services, FCAS. If the second would go along with that.
Well, I was already thinking that when I seconded it. I'm like, well, we should probably be saying Forest City Ambulance / Winnebago County Paramedic Program.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
I'll adjust my second.
All right. With that clarification, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to dip out as long as you don't need anything else.
Nope.
Thanks. Have a good day, guys.
Okay.
Joe.
We already discussed drainage.
Joe.
Otherwise, I'm sure you just stuck around.
Has left.
All right. On to number 11, I believe. We got everything else before that covered?
Yes.
All right. Discuss budgets, including maintenance budget and advocate budget. So Carla had brought up in an email about we originally had indicated their requests for 4.5% for maintenance
Well, we'd originally given Kevin and Ruth 6,
And Rick, or,
just Kevin and Ruth. So I wanted to know what, after the decrease, if you wanted to take those two down to
so you
4.5,
said their original was what?
you'd put them at 6%. So I didn't know if you wanted to take them down with the sheriff's to 4, or leave them at 6, or what you wanted to do.
Well, in the advocate end of it, she's taking on extra duties, and it is money that comes directly out of our budget anyway. It does, but it's paid for by the region.
Mhm.
And, I mean, if she's taking on some extra duties, I guess she probably needs somewhat of an increase, like we've been giving in the past to the sheriff's department and everybody else, a little higher than the rate of inflation to catch us up. And as far as the maintenance goes, you know, I mean, I don't want to say anybody's any more important than anyone else, but he does do a darn good job. And I wouldn't be against leaving his there also, because we haven't given him any increases above and beyond in the past.
I mean, what we've kind of acted on so far is justification, along with our abilities to provide funding. I think you're correct on her. She has taken on more duties, and it isn't out of, you know, our direct pocket in our levies. And the Kevin has a unique talent, and he's multifaceted in what he can do, and I think he's kind of proven himself to be a great asset for the courthouse, taking on jobs that most people probably wouldn't have.
And not saying that he's any more of a great asset than some of the people in other departments, but other departments have received bigger raises in the past, and I don't remember giving him anything. It was something to catch him up to where he should be for his talents.
Do you have any thoughts on it?
So mostly the reason we hadn't really discussed that is because they were coming in separately.
They're not under the.
They're not under the,
They're under us.
yes, but not, so that's kind of why it sort of, I don't know, got swept under the rug, I guess. I should, not swept under the rug, but just not addressed.
And like county conservation, they made their determinant on the comp board recommendations.
Yep, so like public health did with the comp board, conservation did with the comp board,
So
so,
when we draw it back, it draws back.
yeah. That's why most department heads that are not elected officials do it, so, my computer's going crazy. Anyway, so that's why, I asked about these two specifically, since you had already agreed to do that, and then I sent a message out to all the department heads saying, you know, they lowered that. So there were specific questions, so that's why I brought that back up.
All right.
So I'm really not done with the budget because I had some questions and been working
What's
on
the
things.
absolute, but I guess it'd be nice to know the numbers, you know, what the number's gonna look like. I suppose you're gonna have to look at your general supplemental, because now we're on to, well, we're still discussing budget. But we gotta know it in general supplemental and rural supplemental. If we have to transfer anything over to the basic to.
I think we'll be fine
formula.
with those. I think, the only other thing we'll need to do is just, decide how much we want to budget for TIF. I'm gonna go check with Chris.
We gotta have that before we finalize all of this.
Right, I need to go see if Chris has that spreadsheet done that I was working on, so give me just a second.
I suppose we could, trying to think if we, That's one thing I could have asked John, or we could just email him, ask him if we can do all our amendments to include like those bridges or whatever. Do we have to incur debt on those within a certain time period to certify it? So like we could certify some this year, certify some the next year. Can it just be continual that way? Or do we have to amend it every year because of that? As long as, I think it's within the parameters, I'm not sure.
Makes sense to me that we'd be able to do it.
When you do your geographical amendment and purposes, we don't have
I
to
can
do it.
understand why you couldn't do it if you're.
Yeah, because we're discussing on, I should have asked John, but, so say we do come up with our projects, our list of projects, and we amend the area and the scope of what those projects are identified as, and we go through that amendment process. Do we have to incur all the debt before December 1st, or can we do some before December 1st and some next year before December 1st?
I think you can do some, I think you can do some both ways. I think it's a separate debt though, so it's a separate.
Right, but I don't wanna, so I suppose if you do incur all the debt this year, they're probably gonna have to go off for GO bond to do everything. That's something we'll have to look at if we, which direction we're gonna go.
Mhm.
With such a tight timeline on this TIF ending, But I guess the other thing I should have asked him, I'm guessing we can still start a TIF with our other one. We still have remaining ramp up in that one up by Rake,
Mhm.
Buffalo Center area. We can't do anything for what's already there. We have to set our valuation, I suppose, on this 2025 fiscal year valuations, and then anything that increases from there, we can TIF against. If we weren't able to do it here, and it would still benefit us as far as our formulation with the state. And it would benefit our budget. When they opened up that can of worms with 718, House File 718, we had to do whatever we can to make our budget work.
Mhm.
So if it's all in one certification claim, the big plan all in one, if something changes at the legislature,
I mean, for valuations,
yeah,
yeah.
I think, it would be more wise to do like Worth County does, do a project, pay it off. Do a project, pay it off. Because when they did that 20-year huge TIF, $20 million,
It still looks bad.
oh yeah.
Our whole debt from 20 years ago is still showing on our spreadsheet.
Yes, the 20
Even though it's mostly paid off,
wow.
it's still showing.
Yes.
And
I
so-
have to explain
So
that to people quite
cleaner,
often.
neater, easier to explain.
Well, and if they suddenly say, you know what, you can't use windmills as TIF anymore, we would be in so much trouble.
That's what my concern was, is like if you put it all together.
And my thought is exactly what you said. Just do it, pay it off, pay it off. That way you don't get yourself caught.
But
Well,
it's
and
the
it's just
time.
like what they did a couple years ago when they made that one windmill where they took it down and they repurposed them
Call
and,
it maintenance.
oh yeah,
But then
maintenance.
Oh, that's what they told the landowners was maintenance, but then told us it was a major rebuild.
Yeah.
They were talking talking off both sides of their mouth,
Yeah.
and
So but can it be done in this time frame if we just need Scott or whomever is going to want these monies to come up with a
Well,
plan
first we
that,
need to figure out how much money we have to work with.
How
Well,
much we have
yes.
to work with,
and are we able to do it through this one, or we have to look at another one?
and then Scott can give us his proposals, and whatever proposals there are out there, then we'll have to make a decision on which ones we wanna pick that'll fit into the budget.
And I think that's where the financial consultant's gonna be able to help us identify, is it gonna work through this? There might be small projects we can do through this, but maybe in the long run, we might have to start another TIF.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's not gonna be totally popular with some people.
Mhm.
Including me.
Yeah, and, I've said for years, I don't wanna do another one, but we're kinda being forced.
Well,
Force it.
yeah, they're gonna force us into that, but then also if we, allow them to start curtailing everything, and then the people are gonna start getting mad at what's happening. And when I explain it to people, what may be coming at the county level, I haven't talked to anybody that has gotten rather upset about it, so.
Did you get my email about the special election?
Yeah, well, that was last week.
Yeah.
If we wanna go over that budget limit, we have to have a special election in March.
It was, we could have it March 2nd,
Yeah.
but we needed to have our ballots ready in the next, it was like 2 days.
and just for the record, what would that cost?
Probably $7,000-8,000.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's just another unfunded
Just
mandate.
another,
We gotta spend another 7,000-8,000 to get our own money.
Has ISAC put out a list of all the unfunded mandates yet?
I think they're working on it.
That's for the capital,
They should
at the
be.
Capitol.
Mhm.
Where are they gonna meet? Usually we used to go to the Wallace Building and meet.
No, we just meet right at the Capitol. We
Okay.
just come straight
should be
there.
There was years we would meet at the
Yes,
Wallace
we
Building
would.
in their conference
Yep.
area, their auditorium,
Mhm.
and get information there. But that building's closed now, I think. It's been condemned, I think.
no kidding.
Yeah. DNR and USDA.
That's why they don't respond when we call down there for licenses. Nobody's
Yeah, really.
there.
Yeah,
Were you sitting in that room when Terry Branstad promised us that
Yep.
he would always backfill that 90%?
yeah, how many times have we
I think-
listened to people tell us they're gonna respect us in the morning?
Okay, so the only thing I don't have is you don't have it in revenue by.
Yeah,
So I
that's fine. That's
So I
fine.
don't know, so I did it across.
And we have limitations now up on the rate one, the rate
But
bubble
then this is the total for both.
area because they rolled it back 10%. They just barely qualified for the rollback.
Because I don't know what constitutes
So that's been limited.
the
There's still
difference.
valuation to be had.
So do
You
you
just
have
have it together.
Yeah, do you have a total for both of them then?
Well, it'd be -4, but I don't have the revenue, so.
This is the revenue for both of them.
I did them separate. So I don't
Can
have
you make
revenue.
a total at the bottom?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I want.
Okay.
You can't stand anymore,
I got a kick out of, it was Carl making the calls at the wrestling, I think. When Landon Price was out there, he kept calling him Hannah. He just couldn't get it out of his head. Kept calling him Hannah. And like, is our nephew up wrestling now? Because he would have been the next wrestler, or one of the next
We
wrestlers.
kept barking through the headsets. It's not Hannah, it's not Hannah, it's not Hannah.
So-
And he kept going Hannah, and we're like, okay, give up.
So is he the only one in there? That's all the room they have, or?
Well, you mean like Ted not being down there and some of the others?
Yeah.
This was an odd year. Ted had obligations, everybody had obligations. The guy that did it last year, he's moved now a different part of the state. And,
Cause there's times, there was 4 wrestlers going at once from the area.
It's different because there were so many from other districts and stuff, and the way that they set it all up. And, you know, you had 6 circles, but, or 6 rings, but, you know,
I was down there on Wednesday night and I was down there on Saturday. And, I was watching it on Flow, and the reception wasn't keeping up. It was so much
well, we
demand on
were
Flow.
having tech difficulties, like you wouldn't believe. I looked 5 years younger a week ago.
Yeah.
Because of all the things that were going on.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was, we lost him on the tie line, we lost him on the phone line, we lost him on the internet line, we put it back on tie line, that stayed for a while, then we threw him back on the phone, so all of a sudden you'd hear a muffled sound, and then it was a challenge.
The WCTA Channel 100 went down for a while before they started, and so
Everything went bonkers down there. Everything.
on Saturday night.
Yeah. The track wrestling systems were so bloody slow, it wasn't even funny. And I don't know if they use Roadrunner or Coyote internet, but it was one of the best challenges I think as a team we've faced, and how we pulled it off. For the life of me, I don't know.
Being down there in person, it was interesting to hear which coaches were being called up to the head table.
Yeah.
And you know why.
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't for good things.
No, there was a lot of things going on down there. Carl edited out a lot. And credit to him. I mean, he did an incredible job down there.
I was disappointed in some of the wrestlers down there, like in the finals and stuff, their actions after they won, and that's not what I call sportsmanship.
Things are changing, Terry. They're changing. Back in the day, back when I first started covering high school sports in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a rivalry, but at the end, you shook hands and you respected each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's supposed to.
40 years later, and it is birds and everything else you can think of. And I don't know where the coaches' heads are, and I'm more than happy to say this on tape, but there needs to be a reckoning and a discussion with some of these athletes. Not here in our area, but there needs to be a discussion with these coaches on teaching these kids sportsmanship, because that is some of that stuff.
Just because it's an individual tournament doesn't mean you don't have to go by the criteria of your team.
Exactly.
I've been watching too much of the NFL celebrations, even after just a play anymore.
Yeah.
It's just,
The showbiz stuff is getting out of
it's
hand.
gotten so disrespectful that
There was one coach down there that after a kid and the coach were in the loser part of it, he goes like this. The coach does this.
yeah.
The coach did that to the kid?
Probably both the kid and the coach.
You know, I don't even care if the kid was nasty and deserved it. That's still below any kind of a ethical.
The
or
one that did impress
sportsmanship.
me down there was a kid from Fort Dodge, African American one, and he just, this guy was just, he was built. He did his job, he got done, he went like this and smiled, and he just walked off. And then same with that heavyweight from Ames that moved here from California. Daniel Herrera is going to play football and do wrestling with Iowa State next year. That's why he moved to Ames.
Huh.
And he just threw that other guy around.
There are some wrestling matches where the opponent didn't belong.
Yeah. It looked
And
like
that
it was going to
one
be
kid from-
dangerous.
That one kid from Fort Dodge, I thought to myself, okay, is there a 2% or 1% body fat on that kid?
Yeah.
Cause I mean, he was I mean, even the singlet, you could see the six pack and the cut chest and everything, and arms were just pure definition.
But he had sportsmanship.
Oh yeah, he was totally into the whole thing, and it was really cool. But some of those others, oh Lord.
Fortunately, the disrespect out there is, even in our schools and classrooms, you can't, they're having a hard time getting teachers. I was talking about going to a 4-day school week to try and attract teachers. And that's not, then everybody will go to a 4-day week and we'll be in the same, there's not enough teachers. So you gotta ask the question, why is there not enough teachers? My daughter just resigned up there because she does not want to deal with some of those kids. She's gonna do something else besides teach because their hands are tied, they can't deal with it. There's a complete and total lack of respect that is being garnered in so many children nowadays.
Up in Minnesota, they restricted how you can do a hold on a student. If there's so much, now they have to change it again.
Did any of you see last night Immaculate taking, I think it was Northwestern, at the end of the game? The handshakes turned into an absolute brawl at the end of the basketball game.
Really?
It was on Fox, and it was on ESPN, and it was on CNN. They're making national news everywhere. This private institution, they lose, and they lose big time. And then all of us, I mean, they're just sitting there shaking hands. Somebody says something, and then all hell breaks loose. You know, the only thing you say is good game, good game.
Yeah.
Nice game, hell of a game. It's like in the Super Bowl when they did the coin flip in overtime. Patrick Mahomes comes up, fist pumps the guy and says, hell of a game. And the guy goes, yeah, hell of a game. And then they get back at it again. You know, that's what you should do. But all of a sudden, fisticuffs breaking out, and nobody could break it up. It went all over the court. And then some of the fans were getting into it. I mean, we have really degraded ourselves when it comes to sports.
Somebody knocked me on my keister in football. Did I get mad at him? No, I'm like, geez, where'd you come from? Well, I hit, you know. Yeah, and then I'm gonna later maybe get my turn at it, you know. And it's supposed to be a relatively fun rivalry. I mean, I could never hold any grudge against any team just because I was supposed to hate them for some reason.
I got burned so many times when I was in college, and I would make a point to go up to the guy and say, great move. Part of it was psychological. Try that again on me because I'll get you. But the other part was to compliment. Hey, that was a hell of a play, you know. And some of them would try it again, and they weren't quite as successful, but
It's like trying to knock one of their star players out so you can win.
yeah.
If you did that, then you really didn't win, in a sense. I mean, you didn't beat them at full strength, so you had to beat them not at full strength. So what is the satisfaction in that? I mean, if they accidentally get hurt, that's fine, but there are many times where people are targeting athletes trying to take people out.
You see that a lot.
Go back to what is it, that's 2010 or 9, Saints?
Yeah.
They're bounty out. Our coaches never came up with a bounty.
Like I said, the game has really changed. Okay, well, clearly you guys have better things to talk about. Don't whip me out of the room, so I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, we're just
just
waiting for our tip papers. We're just killing time.
Sounds good, Ron. Take care, guys. I
Yeah, have a good day.
have to go entertain the two people who listen to me.
Did Scott hand us information last week on cost? I suppose it's all in here, isn't it?
Yeah, didn't he send us
It was,
an email?
I think it's here. It's all in there.
Yeah, I think that was in the email.
Map one.
It's little writing though. You gotta squint.
See, things like this, some of those, I don't see that qualifying for TIF as much, because number one, there's gonna be some road funds available. You know,
Especially anything that's farm to market.
but I wonder, these blue ones here, I'm wondering if they're gonna want to be qualified.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any project that can have a positive
So it doesn't-
impact on, or,
yeah. No, there's still development to be had out here, probably still development to be had in that area.
wealth growth.
And I think we could probably make the justification, depending on how we do it with the shop out here, that, I know he's working on something out there, but, you know, maybe
Well-
that could be expanded into an industrial park or something. Because there's probably more area that could be, acquired.
More acres. Or parts of it that we wouldn't need or use.
The city limits there is at the top of the hill, next to the cemetery.
Oh, it is?
That's the city limit road. And, if there was more property, you know, behind Barnhart there,
Mm-hmm.
that would be added to an industrial park or something, then the outside the city limits, but my guess is they would probably add it at that point.
Oh, yeah.
That's the challenge,
Can they
because it's
just do
within
that?
their 2 mile,
Can they just do that?
again, home rule. But doesn't keep us from putting our shop there and then they annex it in. But if we have to improve a road for infrastructure and water and sewer out there, and then that would benefit the industrial park.
Is it
Cement.
everything used up
I just
Oh,
didn't
that's
really-
handful of
so
cement.
that's the beginning balance.
in that industrial park
Cash investments,
out there?
added revenue estimated. This is
That's the part we
what
want to
will be
annex.
ending balances, so revenue minus those two. Is that
Okay,
for each of you?
awesome. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
that all falls through out there, says we can't start another one, you know, ice.
It's not as much as. So we really need to talk to Maggie and just see what she thinks.
Yeah, I think so. Will she have something for us tomorrow? Revenue estimator.
You know, it's amazing how fast financial experts can look at something though and give you a idea.
So explain to me, the beginning balance is actually cash on hand?
The beginning balance is what we have in the fund.
Right?
So at 6/1/24, beginning balance was 6,759,000. The revenue that we got in for fiscal year 24 was that number, 2,300,000. Payments for 24 were on 6/1 and 12/1. So those those numbers there. And then, so ending fund balance would have been 6,900,000 on 12 of 24. So then beginning.
So this fund, when we're talking about balance,
Yeah.
this is what she can invest for now until it's needed.
So Julie is probably investing,
A portion of it.
I don't know what she's investing.
So really being a TIF fund, we should have full control over what we do with it. So now, you also indicated that if we don't use a certain portion of this, then that limits our, do we have to give back to the other entities then a certain amount?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, because so what's going on is we need to have a certain amount of debt because we're out of debt. So,
not completely out of debt, but
well,
we have our payments.
so according to the TIF, like we've used up, like our, how do I explain this?
There's a term there, I suppose.
I'll get the worksheet out, because that's the only way I can think of to even try to explain. So every year I do a reconciliation form. And so this is the amount of debt that we have total for this TIF. This is the TIF that we've apportioned. This is the TIF apportioned for the current fiscal year. The TIF that is apportioned for the next fiscal year. And this is the indebtedness remaining at the next fiscal year. So according to the worksheet, we don't have any TIF
Yeah, I see it now.
left. So
our project upstairs, did we borrow money for that?
we didn't this year. So that's something that we could borrow money. We could use that for, I'll use the interest from the TIF for this year. We can add that to the debt, which would be,
And we were planning on next year, the project here was gonna be a part of it,
yep,
so we gotta put that on the list.
yep.
But we haven't identified that project as urban renewal.
Oh, I think we do.
Well,
it's
the
already been- it's
courthouse
in-
we can.
Oh, the
we already-
courthouse.
We already amended the courthouse.
Yeah,
We did
okay.
the roof and everything under TIF.
And that was all under,
Yep,
okay,
Economic development with tourism in mind, because this is a historic building.
okay.
yep. So we can do that.
Well, you could do this
What's our
level two.
cost estimate for,
About 100,000, 110. If we wanted to do the boiler and chiller under that, that would be more.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that anyway.
and that was, trying to remember.
What was the numbers on that?
60s, or, I can't remember.
Um,
Did he put it in the budget?
I think so. But I could take it and move it to where it was in the TIF fund versus his budget.
Right.
Oh, let's see, it was about probably 100,000.
Yeah, if we were doing all of it, I think it was. What department
51.
He didn't put the whole thing in that, this year, in his budget though. Did he? He only did one of the
I
boilers,
can't
or,
remember. I'd have to talk to him about it, because
we'll be able to tell by what number it is.
Boilers, yeah, it's theory towards the end of his life.
But it could
It-
last
it-
another
it-
20 years.
It could.
I know.
that's the scary thing, is you just, yeah,
But you know what, like everybody always says, whenever you're doing a project, it's not getting any cheaper.
no,
It's just like that truck out on the parking lot. It's never gonna be any cheaper than it is today.
right,
If the boiler does fail, you've got the residual heat from the other end and electric heaters that could possibly keep us from, so we,
but you felt it that one morning when we came in here and it was,
yeah, but that was when nobody knew what was going to happen.
That was scary. I was concerned for the
It happened.
pipes.
Perfectly at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
It was on a Friday that it quit, wasn't it, Friday evening or
It was a
something like
perfect
that?
storm.
It went over the weekend with below zero weather.
Okay, HVAC old part, oh no, that's from another year. 126, one of the numbers. Another number of 121. So, yeah, there's some money to be accounted for there maybe, if we decide to go that route. And none of that affects our levy,
right,
just affects how much money we have to borrow in that fiscal year to,
and we would borrow from ourselves more than likely.
yeah, that's where we need to coordinate with that one. Woe is me. All right. So, probably best to start moving forward with, finishing your sheets and then talking to Maggie and,
Yep, I'll talk to Maggie, see how quick she can help us get something together, and, we'll go from there.
yeah. I guess, as much as I'd hate to, I mean, if it's, I don't wanna do another TIF, but we'll see what's available through this one and what the possibilities are.
Okay.
So, on our debt at this point, is it on here what our principal still to pay is on our debt? Those are our payments?
So the payments, the big numbers on the 56 and 58,
Right,
the million number and the 436,000 number, those are the principal numbers. The other numbers, the 90,000 and the 17,000,
So we still have, so that's not,
A little over 2 million.
what? I'm talking through 28.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, so explain that, like the ending balance after, in July of 28.
What do you mean?
Well, what is this,
Oh, at the bottom.
yeah, what is this 1,255,70? So that just shows there's that much left after our payments?
I'm a little confused by what she's done with the totals because the ending balance for 2004 should equal the beginning balance of 2005.
Right.
So I don't know, she's
It's
gonna have to explain what she did there, so,
Unless the software's telling her she has to send money to the other entities if we're not using it.
But that's the difference of that 1,255,70 almost, isn't it? I don't know why there's an ending balance, I guess I'm asking. After 2028.
because our payments are
Revenue payments and.
less than our revenue coming in.
So, looks like if you look at under the column of 6/125, and at the ending balance there you had 6.477 million.
Mhm.
It transferred up there, but in the year before that it didn't.
Well, it's because they haven't been paid out, maybe. These two.
There's just one year that didn't match, right? Oh no, there's another one that doesn't match.
Yeah, that one's $400,000 off.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask her.
Seems like it's the time of year. So if you look at,
Oh,
from
whether
6/1
it's
to
in-
12/1, it does match. From 12/1 to 6/1, it doesn't match. Yeah, every time it goes from 12/1 to 6/1, it doesn't match. Is that because of different payments?
I don't know what she did. I'm gonna have,
Well, I'm just looking at payment.
well, she's got the same beginning balance every time on the 6/1 payment. So that's,
Oh, I see.
it's not, that
Yeah.
can't be right.
Yeah.
So we've gotta,
There's
there's,
a quirk there.
Tweak
yeah, we gotta
it,
do
tweak
something
it.
different.
All right.
But we can have that next week maybe too,
Yeah.
if budgets are
I
back
think once
on
you
the
talk to Maggie,
agenda.
probably get more information from her too.
Yep, and I'll work on the spreadsheet. We'll get it figured out and then we'll,
Yeah. More information.
yep.
Sounds good. Well, anything else for the good of the cause that's on the agenda?
No.
All right,
For me.
stand adjourned.
Okay.
Not that I was trying to cut you off, Bill, or anything. For the good of the cause.
That was really helpful for